Welcome to The Explainer. So for years, Canada basically had this come-on-in attitude, flinging its doors wide open to a record number of immigrants. Well now, it seems like those doors are slamming shut. Today, we're going to break down this massive policy pivot and what it all means for the country's future. Okay, let's just jump right into it with one single number, -70%. Yeah, you heard that right. That is the planned drop in temporary foreign workers arriving this year. A number that drastic? It signals one of the most abrupt policy reversals Canada has seen in, well, modern history. And look, to be really clear here, this isn't some gentle tap on the brakes. We're talking a full-on, screeching U-turn. The welcome mat that really defined Canada's whole post-pandemic strategy is pretty much being rolled up and put into storage.
So, you're probably asking, how on earth did we get here? Well, to really get why this is all happening, you have to look back at the absolute tidal wave that came before it. And the numbers, they're just staggering.
Okay, just look at this timeline. It's kind of wild. In just 3 short years, the number of temporary residents in Canada, and that's a big category, right? It includes students, workers, all sorts of people. It just exploded. It went from 1 million to 2.5 million. And this wasn't some accident, It was a very deliberate plan to get the post-COVID economy humming again. But it grew way, way faster than anyone thought it would.
So what did that do? Well, it pushed the share of temporary residents to almost 8% of the entire population. And just to put that in perspective for you, the normal historical average, it's usually down around 2 or 3%. So yeah, this was a massive, massive demographic shift happening at a speed the country had just never dealt with before.
And this incredible growth basically split the country into 2 different realities. On one side, you had businesses who were absolutely desperate for workers to fill jobs. But on the other side, you had regular people dealing with a totally brutal housing crisis and seeing public services get really strained. Something had to give.
And that's really where this idea of the affordability squeeze takes center stage. I mean, the pressure on housing, the cost of just living, it got so intense that the government basically had its hand forced. They had to rethink everything.
And this right here, this is the moment everything changed. You've got Immigration Minister Mark Miller saying, and I'm quoting here, "We must match immigration levels with our needs and our capacity to welcome them." That was it. That was the signal that the era of growth at any cost was officially over.
And that brings us to what's being called the Great Correction, right? The government was facing all this public pressure, and they responded by rolling out some really decisive measures. The goal? Slam the brakes on population growth and do it fast.
Now, this wasn't just one simple move. It was this big, coordinated 4-step plan. First, they capped student permits. Then they restricted some foreign workers. They even cut the long-term immigration targets. And the big goal behind all this? Get that 8% number for temporary residents back down to a much more normal-sounding 5%.
And the result of all this? Wow, it was almost immediate. We're talking the first quarter of 2025. And as these caps started to bite, Canada's population growth just flatlined. It slowed to pretty much 0. I mean, that is an incredibly fast turnaround.
But of course, it's never that simple, is it? Here's the twist. In solving one big problem, they might have just created a whole new one. Because Ottawa's national strategy, it's now kicking off a major showdown between the federal government and the provinces. Okay, so at the very center of this new fight are something called provincial nominee programs, or PNPs. Just think of them like this. They're special tools that let a province, say Saskatchewan, go out and specifically find a farm mechanic they really need, or let Nova Scotia handpick a healthcare worker. It's all about filling very specific local jobs.
But here's the thing. As part of this big national cutback, Ottawa went and slashed the number of people who could come in through these super important PNP programs by half, just like that. For the provinces that were really counting on these programs to, keep their hospitals staffed and their industries running, this was a huge, huge blow.
So what this all boils down to is a really fundamental disagreement. You have Ottawa saying, hey, our national programs are more efficient and these cuts are for the greater good. And then the provinces fire right back, saying, hold on, we know what our local towns need and your cuts are actually hurting us. It's that classic tug of war, right? Central government versus regional needs.
So where does this all lead? Well, everyone is looking at one single date on the calendar, November 4th. That's Budget Day. That's when all these new policies get locked into law, basically setting the course for Canada for the next few years to come. And really, that leaves us with the huge question that Canada is facing right now. For years, it was all about using immigration to fuel economic growth. Now, that pendulum has swung hard, and I mean hard, in the other direction, towards affordability. But what's the right balance between the two? That is the billion-dollar question that the country's leaders and, frankly, all Canadians are trying to figure out.